What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one, I'm going to be talking about the one and only NIO stock, what you should be looking out for the future. I'm also going to break down what's going on in the overall markets and how this could affect NIO, and do a more in-depth analysis on what NIO actually reported very recently, as we saw their EP sales coming out. We saw lots of data about earnings and other things like that. So I'm going to break down when on earth NIO may have their earnings, what on earth we're actually seeing with this deliveries report. What does this actually tell us about NIO for the future? Now, before I break anything down about how many cars NIO delivered, why they're still doing absolutely incredible, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Don't take any of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire NIO community as a whole. And the last thing is, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you're guaranteed up to 12 free stocks, each worth up to $2,000. And the best part is, any could be a free Tesla share, a free NIO share, or a mix of all of them. It's a limited time offer that ends in just 2 weeks. Check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So looking at NIO, this thing is currently in the red. However, guys, we did see some very strong reports that came out from NIO, and they did actually beat a lot of expectations that came out previous for the last couple of months for the quarter. So let's break down the numbers for NIO and then talk about how this can actually affect the share price. So one thing that's worth noting, though, is the fact that Tesla, I want to actually bring this up real quick. Tesla actually did not have the greatest deliveries report. They actually broke their record for the quarter, which was very strong, but they actually missed on some expectations because Wall Street was looking at about 360,000 deliveries, and they actually got about 343,000. So Tesla is dumping pretty hard right now, and NIO and a lot of other stocks are following. And as a result of that, we are seeing some red in NIO, at least for the short term. However, for the long term, I'm still very bullish. Let me just actually break down the numbers for you. So firstly, we have to look at the pure numbers like that. NIO delivered 10,878 new vehicles in September 2022. For the quarter, they have a new record of 31,607 new vehicles delivered in Q3 of 2022. Now, the specific numbers right here for their total deliveries come out right here. They're up over 29.3% year over year. And for the first 9 months of 2022, they actually had 82,000 deliveries. That's up 24% year over year. Now, please note that for the all of 2021, they delivered 90,000 vehicles. This year, we're only 9 months in, and they're already at 82,000. So it really shows they're really outperforming last year. That's despite the lockdowns, supply chain constraints. And I do believe NIO is going to set another new record. And I do believe the years after are going to be even better. In total, they delivered 249,000 vehicles. Let's go. NIO is killing it. However, guys, I believe NIO's numbers would have been much better if it wasn't for these supply chain constraints, the slowing demand in China, not to mention the changes going on with the lockdowns and so on and so forth. So those effects are still affecting NIO. However, I'm still very bullish for the long term considering everything that's going on right now. So in China, there is some risk right now with these lockdowns that are still going on. They're not completely out of the water just yet, and that's the reason why some investors are still kind of antsy, kind of concerned about this. But I want to really break down why this is not the end of the world and why I still am very confident in NIO. If you look at their numbers, right, Inside EVs actually came up with this chart. They don't have an update for September, but basically September 2022 was very similar to 2021. So if we actually compare them side by side, let me actually do it right here. So right here, we have the numbers right here. So what's highlighted in light blue is going to be 2021, and then dark blue is 2022. Let me show you this first and show you the other chart. So right here, I'm sure you guys can see the dates. July 2021, all right? 7,000 deliveries. For 2022, over 10,000. They killed it. For August 2021, you could see last year we got about 5,000 deliveries. This year we got over 10,000. Once again, killing it again. And then for September 2022, this is when demand really starts to pile in. NIO actually was not that much higher in deliveries for this year compared to last year during this time for the month of September. However, they did beat it at least slightly, so that's still a pretty good sign. Now, the bigger picture right here is the fact that for NIO's next quarterly earnings report, we might see some better numbers than last time because right now we're seeing three pretty decent strong quarters above 10,000 deliveries, or three specific months, I mean. And that's actually pretty good compared to before. So going back to the other charts right over here, Inside EVs did not update this for September, but 2022, the red one should be almost the same as this like dark blue one. You guys could see every year that we're seeing continued growth becoming a lot more consistent, especially the last couple of quarters. Now, what else I really, really like about this is when you compare like the dark blue rectangles right here with the red ones, you will notice more growth for 2022 relative to 2021. So for January, we got a really nice increase. February was very slight because of Lunar New Year. March was very, very nice. April was a little weak, so was May because of the lockdowns in China. Once again, not their faults, but they really began to offset this because of months like June and also August. They did very well, very outperforming last year's numbers. And I do anticipate even more growth to come as they start to expand their factories, as they start expanding all over the world, and more people are enticed to buy into their company. Now, one thing that Neil mentioned, or one thing that is anticipated by the NASDAQ, is we don't have the confirmed date for their earnings, but it is expected to be around November 8th. I don't know this for sure, by the way. It's just a possibility. But the main thing I want to really say right now is the fact that, okay, lockdowns are a possibility. What is NIO going to do amidst this? Now, another bigger issue would be the lack of demand that may actually start to come in China. So, in China right now, we are potentially seeing a kind of like a recession-like situation that's really starting to plague them. We are seeing big banks getting hurt over there, especially from the real estate sector. And as a result, a lot of Chinese investors and individuals are losing faith in banking, at least for the temporary term, and that's causing a lack of demand. So this lack of demand in the banks, a lack of demand in consumer spending is slowing down the economy to some degree. And the slowdown in demand, especially as we get closer to the winter months, this could have an effect on NIO. And I just want to see how NIO really addresses this, because the thing is, I don't think the demand slowing down is going to be that huge in a way where it just completely cuts NIO off. I think it could slow them down slightly. I don't think it's going to be that major though, right? So the thing to remember about this is, all right, it will be more severe if NIO do not take the according steps to really address this. And if NIO just sit there on the sidelines, which I don't think they're going to do, by the way, but if they don't really address these changes to their like margins, their profits, if they have to charge more, that's what we really have to see in this earnings report. What is NIO going to do amidst these times? Because right now, we have an energy crisis in Europe. We're seeing inflation still soaring all over the world. And we are seeing the slowdown in China's output because of demand coming down. So, what is NIO going to do? I want to see what they actually say. And earnings is going to be very important. It's just about like a month away from now. So, it's going to be very huge. And also, earnings for a lot of American companies may also start to come very soon. They could be affected by the potential recession that we are seeing, the recession we're already in, if you want to go there. We have to wait and see how that really goes. So for the short term, what's going on with NIO? Let me just break this down when it comes to the share price. Right now, NIO is kind of chopping back and forth in this zone. We are a little bit red. I mentioned this as a possibility. And the key zone I was really watching for was that 5.5 level. We were actually trading around this for quite a bit of time. I did mention the possibility of NIO pushing up a bit. I thought it was a little more likely. And the thing is, we actually are a little bit red despite everything that's going on. Now, the NASDAQ is actually excuse me, guys. The Nasdaq is kind of green. Tesla's actually just dumping, and this did actually play a very big role in the way NIO ended up moving. I thought Tesla would kind of like come down a bit. We actually just got a huge drop after that report that came out, and as a result of that, that is actually causing NIO to drag down a bit in a market like this. So it's not NIO's fault. I mean, NIO had a good deliveries report overall. I don't think NIO did bad, and I do believe that in the future we could see a slightly some potential for a reversal, but it's going to depend on the market as well. If the SPY and NASDAQ continue to hold up, if they don't see like a massive crash right back to the downside, it looks like we're going to try to attempt to fill this gap up here on SPY, very possible. And if that's the case, the real question is the market going to get dumped again? Because we're not truly out of the water yet, right? We're not ready to just explode yet. We could be, but we don't know yet. We have to watch for confirmation. With that said, for NIO, I'm anticipating some more choppy price action. I do think it's going to try to push up a little bit, like I mentioned earlier, but it's going to depend on Tesla and the overall market. If the market pushes up a bit, if Tesla gets some relief, it could actually help NIO a bit. And I wouldn't be surprised if NIO pushes above this 16.12 level. This is where we got rejected previously. We are kind of just trading sideways for the time being, but I want to see this thing approach that 16 level. Get a break above 16.12, then 16.5 is on the table. And if we break that, guys, then there is a possibility of filling this gap. So far, NIO is not showing the signs of it. And if this thing does continue to drop, I'm going to be watching very carefully this gap down here. I know you guys don't like to hear this. I understand everything. However, we do have a gap down at 13 bucks. If NIO continues to drop, if we see this thing hit the 14s, we're not that far from that, it becomes more likely for us to actually fill this gap before getting a bounce. But as of right now, all right, NIO's holding up. I don't want to be too pessimistic or anything like that. I think NIO's holding him for the time being, but downside is still very possible. But remember, this doesn't matter to me because in the long term, super long term, I'm still very bullish when we are seeing deliveries like this, deliveries that keep on getting better every single month for the most part. And I do believe that this year had lots of chop. There were lots of hard things going on this year. For 2023, 2024, and years ahead, I'm still super bullish. I think they're going to kill it when it comes to the deliveries. And I do believe they're going to see a lot more NIO Park expansions and more efficient production as years go on. I'm still super bullish, guys. The short term may be kind of bearish, so please be very careful there. And with that out of the way, I want you guys to know that NIO is probably going to stay in this range right here between 5.2, around 5.2 or around there, and between there and about 16. So please watch these zones very carefully. I want to see this thing get a slight push to the upside because the market and NIO are kind of oversold. But then again, gotta be prepared for anything. All right. So far we're in this range. I expect us to stay in this range for tomorrow, unless we do get a break in either direction. Then there are other key zones to watch. If this thing pushes below 15.2, then watch out for 14.74. If this thing pushes all the way up to about 16.12 and gets a break, then the next key zone will be that 16.5 range. Either are very possible, but I think we're more likely to just stay in this range just like how we did today for the time being before the bulls or the bears pick a direction. With that said, thank you for listening. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. NIO to the moon, because the long-term future is still super bright, and peace out.